This is Louis Zumbaugh with Rush Hour Ag. Leave your message after the tone.
Hey, Louis, it's Elliott Henderson. Can't wait to tell you about
rolling down the back road, truth riding with the dust, talking agriculture policy with people you can trust. From the field to the Capitol, we're breaking it down. Real talk, real issues from a real farm town. Every hour's rush hour when the work won't wait, so we're cutting through the noise and setting things straight.
What's your rush today, Elliott?
You ready for this one, Louie?
I'm ready.
All right, welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Rush Hour Ag.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
I'm your host, Elliott Henderson,
I'm Louis Zumbaugh, your co-host.
and this will be another fun one.
Yeah, how much rain did you get?
Let's see, we had 1.8 in that last good shot, and then we're kind of spread out. So we've had a couple good plus close to 2-inch showers.
Wow. Yeah, we've been getting shortchanged once again.
Crop looks good.
Yeah, crop looks good. Hanging on. Talking about that, and we're talking about rain, answering some questions about our feedback in our show. Some of our shows are going to seem like that happened a couple months ago, and it probably did. But I think after talking about it with you, Elliott, we feel that they're still important to watch because part of our show is about learning how politics works. Politics moves fast once in a while, and so we have a lot of things to talk about that are happening right now. So our shows kind of get messed up in the order from when we actually did them to when they air. But I just thought we'd let people know about that. And that's part of trying to answer the questions. We get a lot of questions. And one question that come up, I don't remember who it was, but they referenced that I wear a tinfoil hat. Did you see that comment?
Oh, that was the best comment so far.
Yeah. Well, I just want to start out just so everybody knows that, the conspiracy theories that Louis believes in.
Yep, this is the episode where conspiracy theories abound.
Yeah. So I'm going to start off with, I don't believe Lee Harvey Oswald killed John F. Kennedy. And as time goes on, I think we find out more and more all the time. And I guess maybe in my lifetime, we might actually find out what happened.
So we got JFK.
Yep. And next up, I'm not real sure that we landed on the moon.
I like it.
If you look at the videos, the size of the equipment, the technology we had back in those days, and then the convenience that they lost a lot of the information and things how they got there, I really questioned it. Plus, I've watched the TV movie. Maybe it was in the theaters. I don't know. It's an old movie, Capricorn 1.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure we landed on the moon. We did.
O.J. Simpson was in that, wasn't he?
I don't think it was O.J. Yeah, it could have been. I don't remember who was in it, but I think we beat the Russians to looking like we were on the moon. Anyhow, I don't know about that one, but the next two are significant. I believe that the government knew that the Japanese were going to bomb Pearl Harbor, and I believe that they let that happen to bring the American people into the war. Because at that time, we were just out of World War I and people weren't getting into it. And they did that because they knew that Germany was on the verge of having jet engines, the ballistic missile, and a hydrogen bomb.
I kind of think, I understand what you're talking about with like that military industrial complex part of it, but I almost think it was simpler than that. I think it was more like finances. I think it was Germany had, figured out a way to improve their economy very successfully on working outside of like the world banking system. Are you familiar with that theory?
Well, you're down the rabbit hole deeper than I am on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be it. But back to my theory, the reason I believe that my theory is pretty accurate, which would go along with yours too, is if it was truly just about the Japanese burning Pearl Harbor, we probably would have went and fought them more first. But we packed up and went to Europe first.
Kind of like a Afghanistan, Iraq switcheroo.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So anyhow, that's one. And then along with that one, and there's a TV show you can actually watch called Hunting Hitler.
Sure.
And I don't believe that Hitler died in the bunker. I believe he did escape.
Made it to Argentina
Made it to Argentina or Brazil or wherever he ended up. And they get into that in this show. I'm not going to get into who helped him. Because that just gets. I believe a lot of what the show says, but I encourage you to watch it.
So you like catch any of that stuff about Antarctica, where they had a base on Antarctica? You ever seen any of that stuff?
I've seen some of that on the internet, but I
don't follow that one.
I don't follow that one.
That's too bad.
No, I don't follow that one. And then if you want a few, closer ones, did Trump really lose the election?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's amazing that if you go back several presidencies, there was 70 some million people voted.
Consistently.
Consistently, that's the number. And that's what the number went back to in the last election.
Mhm.
But during the pandemic, all of a sudden we have 10 million more people vote. And looks a little suspicious.
Yeah, I know. I was up all night watching that night, and all those votes come in. What was like 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever it was. And
Well, it was past 11 because I stayed up to watch, and I finally fell asleep. Next, thought Trump won, and the next day it's like, oh, Biden's our president.
so, what is Trump in his third term right now? You think?
In his third term?
Yeah.
Well, he never got his second one.
Well, he didn't get it, but
Well, no,
is he really a third term president?
no, because
He
obviously
didn't serve the term.
Biden's aides were there.
Sure. But was he a third? Is this his third time being elected?
Well, obviously, to me, no. He might have, it might be a conspiracy that he won. He might have won, but it didn't turn out that way. So I don't think you count that as a second term. It's,
The one where he lost, you mean?
yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying that he did win that one.
I think history will show that something funny happened there.
Sure.
But
I think we're saying the same thing.
yeah, we kind of are. And then, there's always the Egyptians, whether they built the pyramids or not, along with the same time the Mayans are building their pyramids, and whether that happened or whether they had extra help.
I followed a guy. I thought it was pretty cool because it was like somewhat tied to like agriculture and chemistry. And I think Egypt used to be called the land of chemistry.
Okay.
And one of his theories is that the pyramids were really like fertilizer plants. And the Sahara was not a desert at that time. And so, I don't know, you got your shafts on the pyramid. Well, like those buildings or the pyramids were reacting chemicals and making fertilizer.
No,
Or another thing they were doing was they were making chemicals because I guess mining gold is a kind of a chemically intense operation. And so they were using the pyramids to make chemicals to also like separate out gold.
okay, well, I've never heard that.
I thought that was pretty cool theory.
I'm just thinking, they probably just had a little help building them from somebody, from somebody. I don't know. Anyhow, I just wanted to point out all the conspiracy theories that are turning around that I somewhat believe in to satisfy the people that thought I was wearing a tin hat when I talked about the World Health Organization trying to take over the world.
I thought it'd been cooler if we'd have made some tinfoil hats and we could have opened this tinfoil hats.
Could have been wearing them. Yeah. Well, so I'm curious what kind of feedback we'll get on these. Hope we don't lose listeners.
No, I'm sure we won't.
Oh, I was going to tell you that I consider a lot of these conspiracy theories to be like herding sheep, and when I told you that, you didn't know where I was going. But have you ever herded sheep?
No.
Sheep. I have a daughter that likes sheep, so for 4-H she always had some lambs around, and they say if you get one lamb to go, they all go, and generally that was true. But if you ever had the one get away, you never get them back hardly.
The whole herd. If you want to go,
just if one just gets away. If one, if you have 10 and first one goes in and 8 more go in, but one escaped, he's like really hard to bring back to the crowd. And so you kind of wonder, when somebody first escapes the JFK Lee Harvey Oswald thing, several people that had film and things, they didn't live that long afterwards. And, there's just a lot of speculative things happened.
Right.
Or happened. Which then you could get into, we could have a whole nother episode on the Clintons and the Jeffrey Epstein. We could have all kinds of shows on conspiracy theories. There's probably a podcast out there that does that. I'll have to search for it maybe. I don't know.
Well, I think we got some good conspiracy theories that we can talk about in the egg world too.
All right. Well, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I don't know. We can talk a little bit about some of these Iowa politics or, fertilizer for one thing. I know that there's a lot of concern around the influence in fertilizer prices and, all this consolidation and, what's happening inside that world. And then we got, war just broke out in Iran, and Iran is one of the biggest urea manufacturers in the world. And it's like, to what end are a lot of these events impacting agriculture and how much of it is maybe coordinated?
Yeah. I don't know on that end, but to bring it down to our local farmer, last year we bought our nitrogen in August, which is normally when we buy it. I think we gave 245. Maybe we buy 32% nitrogen, and we were just talking about it. The guys and I were a couple days ago whether we'll be able to take advantage of that opportunity. I think it's closer to $400 to $500 right now.
Yes, it just depends.
And whether we want to do that or not, and if that's going to be the bargain, or I think we've decided probably hold off for the time being.
And
It's not August yet, so things could change.
after side dressing season, I mean, we're in the middle of side dressing season as we record this right now, and I've heard too that a few weeks from now this could soften some more.
Yeah, they'd have to soften a lot to get back to where it was last year.
Right. But the swings are, when they swing, it swings pretty,
It does swing bigger than
It
it
does.
used to. Everything seems to. I know when I started farming, if corn moved 25 cents in a year, that might be quite a bit. Now it can move dollars almost.
Right.
It's crazy.
Well, when you got consolidation happening, like in this phosphate market, you only got a few players anymore. You got Mosaic and Nutrien with potash, and really just a few companies now that are owning the manufacturing and processing of nitrogen. So I don't know, just it's hard to have that competition within that market, I guess, to
Sure.
keep a tighter margin for these operators that are producing the products. And then
But that's the way it is in a lot of things. I know. I've been doing a little bit of tractor shopping, and I'm a fairly loyal John Deere customer. Our two biggest tractors are Case IH quad tracks, but the rest of our tractors are pretty much Deere. And I guess I always just pretty much deal with the one, but I'm close enough to two different dealerships. And I mean two different named dealerships, not just buildings. But I after going to Commodity Classic, it just started really taking a liking to this Massey Ferguson S series. And I've realized I have 5 independent Massey Ferguson dealers that are within an hour of my house, and some of them are half hour. I found that to be intriguing. And I've also got a couple Bobcats, and I now realize since our Bobcat dealer purchased another dealership in another county that I didn't realize that before because I farm in both counties, so I was always buying from the other one. But you're not supposed to go outside of a region they're not supposed to sell outside of their region. So even if I went to a Bobcat dealer in, 5 counties away or however far, they're not supposed to sell it to me. They've told me that.
sounds a lot like seed corn, don't it?
Yeah, well, I'm real fortunate to have a great seed corn sales in my area that I'm pretty loyal to. So
Yeah, family, right?
yes, it is. Yeah,
That's good.
I'm a pretty loyal DeKalb customer.
Well, I actually just had this conversation when I talk about loyalty, and it just jumped to the front of my mind here as we're talking about it. And the conversation was around big farmers versus little farmers, and his point was that these big farms, they're not good for our local economies. They're not good for dealerships. Where big farmers aren't necessarily as loyal as the small farmers are. The small farmer wants to see the guy that he goes to church with raise his family and have his business, where a lot of this stuff has just become so scaled.
When you like to hit on that topic a lot, what do you consider
Just like it keeps getting brought up?
Well,
I guess I don't know.
You live in that circle. Like, I think it just you just can't get away from it. But that's fine.
Probably. But
That's
they're
fine.
guys your age. The guy that I was just talking to is your age this morning that mentioned this.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just gonna ask though. What's
Probably
big farm?
farms thousands of acres.
What's thousands? Is 5,000? Is
probably less
big?
than
Is
that, yeah.
is 3,000 big? Is 10,000 big?
Probably, I guess in my mind, like anything over 1,000 acres per individual or family member that's on that farm gets pretty big. If you get like your
Well,
farm, you got 3 or 4
well-
family members operating on it. You got 4,000 acres. That's not big.
But that's not just that's different family members. You're right. So that's my next question is, how do you segregate that.
What-
I mean,
What do you
even
mean? How do you start making policy and changing that? What do you mean?
no. Just in your mind,
I just told you.
just in your mind, if you're the guy that drives by and sees a big grain setup somewhere, oh, that guy farms 10,000 acres. Well, he might have 6 kids farming with them, and they're all farming. I find that most of the time, if you think somebody's farming 10,000, they're probably farming 5.
Sure.
If you think they're farming 5,000, they're probably farming 2,500.
Yeah.
It's usually about half what the coffee shop thinks. Anyway,
Half of what they tell you, or what?
no, I don't hang out at the coffee shop, but the few times, and we don't even, the gas station used to have a group of men come in, and I'd stop on my way to Des Moines if it was on a Monday, or I'd stop going to the courthouse when I was the county supervisor, and always, got a little insight from the locals, which is always fun. And then the pandemic hit, and all the chairs left, all the tables left, and they never brought them back.
Yeah, I guess to answer your question, though, I think, you haven't said anything that I haven't thought the same way you're thinking. Those aren't big farms when you're measuring it that way. But when you start looking at guys that are farming 30, 40, 50,000 acres.
But most of those guys, well, I don't know anybody that farms 30,000 acres.
I bet you do.
Not as one operation.
Okay.
The closest in my mind, I've been told he has maybe 3 different 10,000 operations
Okay.
that he's involved in, but has family in those. And then if they hire, I think you're probably right. Most farms probably have 1,000 acres per employee.
That's just kind of the thing where I think is reasonable, I guess.
Seems like that might add up. I'm just curious.
But like when
I
you
don't
got
quite
3
understand.
individuals involved in a family operation and there's 30 or 40,000 acres there, and there's 20 South Africans, or that's a big farm to me. And I don't know if that's good for the community.
No, I agree. I was down in southern Iowa, and I was this has been a few months ago. I was coming back from Texas. Anyway, I stopped at a meat store along I-35. I'm not going to say which farmers own it. They do have a TV show though. Anyhow, I pulled in there just to see if they were still in business, because they're in a little bit of legal trouble from what I've heard on some crop insurance issues. But anyway, I went in and I was going to buy some beef sticks or something. And the person behind the counter was from South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was kind of interesting.
I don't know if I haven't mentioned this to you at all, but are you familiar with the phrase, the tragedy of the commons?
No.
So it must be like some old timey thing, but you've got like a community, and that community all contributes for the good, or they're all, I don't know, one of the examples was like, you got a pond or whatever, and they're all fishing out of the pond, and everybody knows, you should only take so many fish out of the pond,
Sure.
Otherwise you're going to lose all the fish in the pond. Well, then you got one member in the community that fishes the whole pond out, and then everybody else suffers from it. And I feel like that's a lot of what's happening in agriculture today, where we have, some of these individuals that are really willing to take advantage of the good that others are doing to try to, make the culture of America's agriculture strong and a way of life. And then you've got some people that are exploiting it. And, to the point that what you're talking about, you got these guys that are, they're abusing crop insurance. They're bringing in all this immigrant labor. Not that I think immigrant labor is bad, but the argument's always, well, we can't hire anybody.
I wouldn't call that immigrant labor when they're bringing people in from
They're grading people in.
Well,
from
they're
other
bringing
countries.
people in from South America, but they don't stay here. They're on a work visa, so they go back.
I mean,
And they do go back.
define immigration however you want, but they're
That's not
immigrating.
immigration. Should be where you come to the country legally and you're planning on staying here legally, and you actually become American. To me, that's immigration. Bringing people over to work the fields or work whatever that are going back, they're on a work visa. To me, that's not immigration.
Okay.
That's needs a different word, in my opinion.
I can agree with that,
It's
but
just
I don't think it's
separate deal.
good though for the communities. And hey, if it's the only only thing I'll probably have to do it too someday if that's the only way that I can work my operation. But
Well, from my understanding, on Monday or Tuesday of next week,
yeah,
we're going to be at your house. No, we're jumping all over the place today, but we're going to be at your house to look at an autonomous tractor.
mm-hmm.
But it's not a this autonomy that you're looking at can go on any brand. Is that right?
That's how I
Well,
understand. Yeah.
Well,
That kind of
maybe that might be an episode of its
Yeah,
own.
I hope
But I'm
so.
looking forward to seeing that. Do you know though? Now that we're bringing that up, you told me it was like $30,000.
I don't know. That's a number that was thrown around that I don't know. Like
Okay.
you might have to do multiple units, but that's a number that I had heard.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out, and I guess I won't be looking forward to driving it. I'll just be looking forward to watching.
You can push the buttons.
I can push the buttons. It'll be like running a drone, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
It must be. Yeah. Well, we ran it a little bit, and yeah, it's pretty.
Okay, so that really messes it up. You don't. It's an autonomous tractor, but you have to stand out there and still drive.
No, you don't have to stand out there and drive it.
Okay.
But
right.
you can
Override.
operate it, over the internet or whatever in the cloud.
Okay. Well, we're all over the place.
But like you're right, I'm okay with having autonomy and kicking the dude that I used to pay a wage to do that work. You're right. There's some hypocrisy there. I haven't quite.
Oh man,
at all.
Elliott, you being hypocritical?
I don't know what you're talking
I can't
about.
believe it. Oh well, what else? What else you got going on in the world?
Well, let's go back to this fertilizer thing for a minute. All right.
Okay.
So, what's going on in an industry where, let's say we're planting, 93 million acres and 96 is what they're calling for. What's that? 2% difference. And in what industry do we need to have the prices fluctuate that much because there's 2% more corn getting grown?
I don't think it has.
Do you need to raise your prices on corn, to take it to town because you raised 2% more bushels? Like, some of the stuff's it just don't add up.
Well, we don't get to decide whether we raise our bushels.
No, but
or not.
if you did,
if we did, I would run my farm just like Alliant Energy, one of my favorite energy companies, and I would guarantee myself a 9% profit.
All right, so let's talk about guaranteeing profit. We've got these large fertilizer companies who are lobbying lawmakers to put countervailing duties on imports from other countries. So like, for instance, Morocco, they'd love to get phosphate brought into our country. And these companies lobby for an 18% countervailing duty coming in on that product.
Sure.
They just guaranteed themselves an 18% profit.
No, they guaranteed themselves that's not an 18% profit. They guaranteed themselves that they'll add 18% of their price onto theirs. That's not really the same thing.
So,
but they are guaranteeing that they're hoping to guarantee that they'll be able to sell it cheaper.
So if the competitor's product is coming in and now they've made that price 18% higher than the market price.
Yep. I'm a big believer in buying products from the United States. Until the pandemic, I always bought American-made Tony Lama boots.
Sure.
And shortly after the pandemic, they're just hard to find right now. But they're coming back. You still see them. You got it. I mean, it's not hard to find Tony Lama boots, but it's hard to find the ones that are made in the USA. But I'm a firm believer of eating U.S. beef. I don't want to eat beef from South America. What do you think on that? I'm going somewhere with this.
Okay, I'm following you.
We neither one of us are beef producers, but we want to use American-made ethanol, right? We're both corn farmers, right? Don't want to use the stuff coming from sunflowers or whatever down in Brazil that they're shipping up to California.
Corn now. Used to be sugarcane,
but
now
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I'm going back to being hypocritical. You and I both want to see tariffs on the products that we compete against to help support American made. Your fertilizer company is not doing any different in their mind.
So, your corn or, the ethanol thing, right, coming in from Brazil.
Sure.
All right, so Brazil has, I don't know, it might be 18%. It's a big tariff on if we send ethanol to Brazil. Do you know what the tariff is when it comes to America?
We just heard that at a meeting Monday night, but I don't remember what.
0.
Right, and we're at 20% or something.
If we send it there, they're wanting a 20% tariff. So like, I'm all about reciprocal.
Right, right. No, I'm good with no tariffs or reciprocal tariffs. I'm just pointing out that in the current world that we live in, as farmers, we'd like to see the same thing that company is doing. The difference is they have the clout to get it done and we don't. And that's just not maybe right, but it's the way it is. The world's full of things that aren't right, but that's the way it is.
Well, it's the way it is, and is it right or wrong? I don't know, but I didn't know that that's what was going on with our phosphorus coming out of Morocco. That we could buy cheaper phosphorus if it wasn't for our big domestic or North American companies.
Well, I'm big. I don't care what it is. I think the United States needs to use products from the United States. I think we need a steel industry. We need an auto industry. We need all that to be a superpower. And so, back to tariffs and the president's
Like I
what
think
he's
there's
doing. I think it'll be short-term pain for long-term gain, and I'm good for that. I hope that we have a workforce in America that can still fulfill all the jobs that could come back, and I think we do, but they're going to need to be uh, maybe some training and whatnot. I mean, I'm on a selfish note. I'm kind of glad I'm probably got less runway ahead of me than I do behind me because it might be kind of rough and bumpy. But I did hear actually, I think this was the last time when I was coming into Slater to do a show with you. I had a radio station, I was talk show, and somebody said something about the jobs in America. We didn't need to be making sweatshirts. We needed to be more tech jobs and more higher jobs. But I think we need to include all jobs, and that includes making T-shirts and Wranglers back in America. Not everybody's cut out to be a tech guy. I mean, I'm probably more of the make the T-shirt, make the Wranglers guy than I am. Well, just today, didn't you get that on my phone? You airdrop me something. I'm like, well, where would I find an airdrop on my phone? If you want to talk to me, you have to call.
right. My concern for America is that there's a saying, it's like culture beats strategy every time. And, strategy, if that's, educating or training or how do we get the workforce to be stronger in America? I don't know. I think we got to start with culture. Like the culture of work ethic has just evaporated in this country over my lifetime for sure.
You could take culture and take it to what's going on in California somewhat, although the Kings thing, I don't put any stock in Kings thing. But down there where it's over deportation, that's not about being a king, and I don't know how anybody could say that President Trump's a king. He was duly elected,
I don't know.
unlike his opponent who was duly selected. Anyway,
I know King's Day is the 4th of July.
All right, fair enough. But you want to talk about culture? These people want to stay here and live the culture that they have in their other country.
I don't know. We don't.
So
that's not more like an invasion where you come here, you're a foreigner, and you fly a foreign flag. It seems a little more like an invasion than it does a protest.
I'm sure it does for somebody like yourself that's been in action in the military, and yeah, I'm sure you. I mean, I don't like it, and I'm sure you don't like it a whole lot worse. So the 4th of July is your no cans day. I've heard other people say that, so I applaud you for that. That's a nice little saying. And like I said, they want to say that Trump was anointed, I guess would be the thing, but yet their candidate was truly just selected by a handful of. And then you have all the other things coming out about the auto pen and all that. Man, we could probably have 10 episodes on this. I mean, we'll have to find some people that know more about that than we do, maybe. So
I just find it, and I don't know, it doesn't really matter, I guess, where you align politically, but it should be evident today. Like there's just this sickness of projecting the problems that exist with one group on the other. Like it's constantly if somebody is just saying that somebody else is doing something bad, you can just about guarantee you're going to find out in 2 days that they were doing that same thing.
Well, that could be. I find it fascinating that we're pretty busy on our farm every day, including the weekends. I find it fascinating how much time some people have to go and protest. And of course, I've heard that they're paid. A lot of them are paid to protest. Nobody's ever offered to pay me to protest, but I suppose if it was a big enough check, I'd probably crawl out of the tractor for a little while and go protest. Don't mean I'd be for what I'm protesting, but if they're going to pay you, I wouldn't do that. I'm just kidding.
And there was a pretty I think if you look at especially the protests here in Iowa, I mean, they're happening. I mean, Manchester, Iowa had
I heard there was one in Manchester, yeah.
And
10 people show up?
I don't know what the count was, but it's like I could see on the video that was, there's Hardee's there. There was the
down
car
by the river there.
dealership. You could see like that's Manchester, Iowa.
Yeah.
But
And were the people from Manchester?
I think so.
Really?
But you can kind of tell pretty clearly who
Yeah.
it's not hard to figure out. It's the same kind of people that are at these protests, and I don't know what the disconnect is, but I think probably watching a lot of The View.
I've never watched The View other than clips.
Yeah.
Other than clips. I did see though, what's that one main character on The View?
Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah, I did see Sister Act the other day on TV, and I did watch that. It's a pretty good movie. It's kind of
Was
fun.
that on like
Yeah. Oh, and then
I-
there's Jumping Jack Flash. That's another one that she's in. That's
never heard of that.
that's a pretty good movie too. So she had a career before she went on The View that I enjoyed her movies years ago. Anyway, that's
Whoopi Goldberg, if you're listening, Louis wants a signed, autographed
no, I
Jumpin' Jack Flash.
I don't need a. Well, I'd take a Jumpin' Jack Flash poster if you're listening. Heck, you never know, man. She might be a podcast listener. We might get
Jumpin' Jack
invited
Flash.
to be on The View.
Yeah, that might be scary.
That wouldn't take very long to kick us off, probably.
Probably not with our moon landing and JFK.
Well, they're pretty far out there on that show, from what I hear. The clips I've seen, so they might be right on board with conspiracy. They might be different conspiracies, but they'll be right on board with conspiracy theories. They'll just be different
Right.
theories that they believe in. So yeah. So what else is going on? We got the war on Israel.
Yeah, war on Israel, like war in Iran now. I mean, I was kind of wanting to. We were preparing for another show too, but I had heard that I just seen it this morning. Like we have control of the air over Iran this morning
I think we had it yesterday.
or yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, from what I heard on the radio.
Okay.
I think when it comes to air control, there's I'm no military expert by any means, but I would guess that anywhere in this world, if we needed to have air control, it wouldn't take the United States very long to have it.
No, I was just seeing a thing yesterday where it was like depicting a lot of these countries, like Great Britain, Brazil, China, like had a bar chart of like all these countries, it's like
When they're in their Air Force.
in their air forces, how many aircraft they have, it's like 500, 700, 900, 1100. And then it's like China, 9,000 or something. I don't know. And then USA, like
Yeah.
far and above everybody else. So
I seen something
tens of thousands of aircraft.
on the farm last week that was interesting. A fighter jet went over,
Mm-hmm.
but only one. And I thought that was strange.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen them fly over our farm before. I suppose they're going out to Nebraska, but and it don't happen very often. But it was, you hardly ever see just one.
Yeah. I don't
So
know.
I
Making my
thought
hair stand up.
I thought maybe they went out to Maine and got lobster or something. I wasn't sure they were flying west.
I don't know. When you're in a troops in contact and an aircraft shows up on station, it just makes all your problems go away.
Because you got protection.
And I don't know, something like this, making my hair stand up thinking about it right now.
Really?
But it's a very reassuring feeling.
Yeah, I could see that if you're in the military, and because if you have air superiority, well, it's part of go back to World War II. We had air superiority in both
Yeah.
the Atlantic and the Pacific. So, do you have any theories on the nuclear capabilities of Iran? Do you know anything about any of that?
I don't. I mean, I was just consuming some content here in the last 24 hours, like what has it been the last 20 years? They've been telling us Iran's, 2 days away from achieving nuclear capability. And I don't know. It's just, it'd be nice if we could have figured out a diplomatic way. And I think like we've been really close, Saudi Arabia has been an advocate for getting Israel and the other Arab countries to work together. And for whatever reason, Iran just hasn't really wanted to come to the table. I don't know.
How old were you when the hostages?
Dude, I don't think I was even alive yet.
You weren't alive then. Oh, I remember that. That was
But like Operation Eagle Claw, I mean, I've read all about that. That would have been cool if they could have pulled that off. But like,
where they went in to get them. And
yeah, and they crashed in the desert
Yeah.
one crash.
Yeah.
That's a really neat story. That was the birth of Delta Force, and then that also, that incident really made our branches of our military work together better after that. So unfortunately, it didn't work, but it really made our armed forces a much more cohesive
Sure.
element after that.
So
So
that was all under Jimmy Carter.
that was all under Jimmy Carter, yeah.
And, and I know President Carter passed away last year, but if I was President Carter, my hero in life would probably be Joe Biden,
Okay.
because Joe Biden became president and was actually worse than Jimmy Carter.
Right.
It's just my opinion.
I don't know if I said it on this show, but I spent a lot of time in Georgia, and
Yeah, you did say that.
the old farmers down there, I always remember them talking about Jimmy Carter, because where I was at down there, Jimmy Carter's home place was, I mean, people there knew him. They knew his family, and
Yeah.
I think they operated like an elevator, a peanut buying point or something down there. So like those farmers worked with that family, and they knew that. But when he was in office, they would take like their forage boxes and paint on the side of them, send Carter back to Georgia when he was the president. They put him out by the highways, and
They didn't want to be in president.
he wasn't doing any good for them down there. So they wanted him to sent back home.
Yep, I remember when Jimmy got elected, and I remember the hostages. I was pretty young, but I remember all that. And like 5 days after the election, Reagan had him back. That was probably cut before the election.
Yeah, so that another tinfoil hat theory probably.
Well, yeah, probably. I haven't really studied that one.
Well, there was a lot of comparison to that in the Israeli hostages in Gaza too, right? After Trump got in and all that. I don't know. Did they all get released yet?
I don't know if they were all released or not. I mean, they released some more after he got elected. That might have been out of fear.
Right.
I don't know. If you go back, I remember in high school, it was Theodore Roosevelt that spoke softly but carried a big stick.
Mm-hmm.
That was his motto. And anyhow, yeah, I don't know. This episode don't have a lot to do with farming, but it does. It has a lot to do with real life, and as farmers, it all comes down to affecting us somewhere, whether it's fuel price which is another thing. You talk about fertilizer. We called yesterday to maybe fill the tanks. Our supplier thought maybe we should wait a little bit yet. It was about 30 cents higher than we could have done this month and a half ago. So maybe we missed the boat, maybe not. But I tend to try to buy things early on our farm, and I'm a bird in the hand's worth two in the bush, especially after the pandemic, when, who would have thought you couldn't buy toilet paper, my golly,
Did you ever have to go without, Louis?
No, we always had, as far as I know. Yeah.
I would think you'd remember if you had some on your finger.
Well, I went out to the archives and got some, oh, Jesus, we need to cut that. Went to the archives and got the Sears Roebuck catalog,
Right.
Yeah.
I thought you were probably going to bring up the veto of that pipeline stuff too.
Oh, yeah. Well, I wasn't surprised that the governor vetoed it. She didn't want it on her desk to start with. Senator Busel, I believe, who I believe used to work for Summit Farms or Summit at some point.
Sure.
He probably kept it off the desk for 3 years. But I actually applaud the senators, whether you're for it or not. I applaud the senators that took a stand, and at least they debated it. We went through the process, and that was the decision she made. So, that's how it is. It's not the one that I was hoping for. I actually, when was it Navigator Heartland? Was that the one?
Navigator's done, right?
Right. But before that was done, they were actually going to try to go through 6 of my properties.
Okay.
And isn't that I have a ton of property? They were going out of their way to go through my.
Because you were willing to work with them, and others weren't.
I think I don't know why they. No. This was before I even knew where it was going. I went to the meeting and seen the map, and it's like, geez, they took a right-hand turn in the one just to get to me. I don't have a lot of houses
Oh, sure.
on property, so that might have been part of the reason. And I knew a person that worked there at the time, and yeah, we were going through steps to maybe try to move it some, make it a little. I was willing to work with them. Not that I wanted it. That's not the right words. I have 2 other pipelines to the farm, and the one I did negotiate for, and I would have rather just not had that pipeline. But in Iowa, pipelines have a lot of power, a lot of power companies, and in the end, you're probably going to end up with it. So I just felt I hate to say this because I don't. It sounds like I'm going to lay down and die, but I'd rather a big piece of the pie than no pie at all.
Right. Well, that's what I look at what happened, and I see it seems like it was just two extremes. It was either absolutely no pipeline, property rights, and then there's economic benefit, and it's good for Iowa's agriculture. And so it was just really divided, and both sides were at each other to have it their way. Really, I think maybe the governor was right with this thing. Veto this thing, and everybody come back to the table next year and come up with something better.
Well, I don't believe that was why the governor vetoed it, but it doesn't matter why I think she vetoed it. It's vetoed for the time being. I don't think the Senate will have enough people to override and come back to a special session, although the House does have enough people to do a special session. I applaud them for that. When I was in office, I didn't mind bucking the system once in a while if I felt it was right, if it was the right thing to do. You didn't buck it just to buck it, but, if it was the right thing to do. I just don't think you give private companies the right of eminent domain. And at the end of the day, and more than that, if this, and I voted for this, but it doesn't seem to be happening in the big beautiful bill? I thought we were going to get rid of all these tax credits. And if the tax credits went away, then the pipeline would go away.
Right.
And so would the solar farms, and so would because they don't work. None of this works. And then I had people last night telling me that carbon, can it be made into nitrogen and things?
Well,
I'm not versed enough on that.
What I'd like to see is that they pay the farmer to sequester that carbon into nitrogen, and we apply so much carbon when we apply our nitrogen, and then pay the farmer to sequester it.
And how do we transport it? And how do we do all that?
Well, I mean, they could put little reactors at all these ethanol plants and just make our nitrogen at the ethanol
That's
plant.
what I'm asking. So
Why don't we do that?
You can do that out of carbon or not?
I mean, you can't do it out of carbon, but you can. They all got natural gas there, and you make nitrogen fertilizer out of natural gas.
And we're going to mix carbon in with that.
It's called the Haber-Bosch process. I mean, it's been around for 100 years, but yeah, you react natural gas with a catalyst and then atmosphere. So the nitrogen actually comes out of the atmosphere, and then you process it. There's a heat reaction with a catalyst, and then you separate it out through different towers, and then I think you end up with like an aqueous solution, and then you separate out the water to get it more concentrated, and then that's how you can get your urea concentrations. You get your aqueous ammonia 32, and then obviously anhydrous ammonia is the most concentrated version of it and takes the most effort to make, most energy to make. But why don't we just put nitrogen plants at all these ethanol plants and then blend 10%, 20% carbon back into it and forgo the pipeline, but start paying the farmer to take the carbon? You could haul your corn in and haul your fertilizer and carbon back out.
We'll have to research someone that is well versed in this.
So there's a product in the world, like the biggest nitrogen product that's used throughout the whole world is called ABC, ammonium bicarbonate. So we're the only country that really, not the only. It's more of a third world product for nitrogen, but I want to say it's maybe like a 14%. It's a much lower concentration of nitrogen versus like your 32 or your 82. You had to handle more tons of it. But geez, if I was getting paid to handle the tons because I'm handling the carbon, it would lower my fertilizer cost, but I'd have to handle more tons. I'd be cool with something like that. So, yeah, we got around the block here on this one.
We have. We've been all over the place, and I think some of these we're going to have to jot down and bring some people back that know more about them than you and I.
I'd love to have like a chemist on the show someday to talk about, but sure, I get it. We're more policy driven, but hey.
Something else I just learned, and I'm getting a contact to have a guest on that knows about this, is there's a new tick in Iowa in cattle. I don't know the name of it. I don't remember. I just learned about this last night that actually can kill the animals. And so I think that's a future podcast too.
That tick gives like
I don't know enough about it, Elliott.
Disease.
I was just asking a friend who works at Idolls what's going on, and of course they got some things going on with water in Des Moines again, or that area, and then they've got this tick, which was pretty big, and then of course the pipeline, which is a big doer. And just to give ourselves a little shout out, our episodes with Senator Dan Zumbaugh, we did talk about the landowner rights bill that was also going through, and that bill didn't go anywhere, I don't think, but they still need to look at that bill because it should have went hand in hand with this bill, the pipeline bill, because the that would have changed how pipelines could go across Iowa. And so if somebody was adamant that they weren't going to have it, they would have had an avenue to go around. So that's a good episode to watch. Actually, it's 2 episodes. We split it. But we got a lot going on. You got anything else for today's episode?
No, I think you hit on it at the beginning. Things move fast in ag and ag policy. And, it may seem like things are behind the times, but hopefully listeners can engage with that and maybe pick something up that they might not have picked up the first go around when it was relevant. But, and then also as a kind of a call to action, if there's some topic that listeners want to hear brought up on the show, please send us an email to Rush Hour Ag, and we'd love to cover it.
Yeah, or look me up and call me because I don't do a lot of emailing.
Or put some more comments on social about dudes wearing tinfoil hats. And
there you go. Yeah, we try to respond, or at least respond on the show. And hope you enjoy this show. We were kind of all over the place, but I hope you rush on back for another episode. We'll see you later, Elliott.
See you, Louie.